Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be truly within your interest and in your way. Amen.
I met a saint once, yes. Her name was Catherine, and she lived in a nursing home, and was sort of a delightful person. Another person lived in the nursing home too. She was, well, I don't know. But anyway, I would come in, there was a black casket in those days, and I would come in there, and she would be sitting on the couch, and she would look up at you and say, "I'm ready to hear your confession." Well, she might have been a saint too. But Catherine, she would come up to me every time I went there. She'd look me straight in the eye, and she would say, "Well, you have it right in front of you." She'd recite this. "I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise will ever be in my mouth. Proclaim with me the greatness of the Lord. Let us exalt his name forever." She'd just look at me right in the eye, and she would say that. Now, she wasn't trying to teach me anything. She was a person with Alzheimer's. She didn't remember anything much, but she sure remembered that. And so she was telling me what she remembers and what she knew. I suspect Catherine's doing very, very well, thank you. And this is what we're all about. I mean, I know AJ isn't quite as old as Catherine, and we don't expect it of him, so we're going to put it in your mouth. But it's sort of great. It's just great. And I'm so glad we're doing these things together. We're doing very old things together. Not quite as old as we do at 8 o'clock, do we? At 8 o'clock, we're a little older, and we say wonderful language that's Tudor language. And that's even, oh no, it's very nice. It's very good. But despite the modern language, this is old stuff. And baptism, what are we really doing? I mean, this is all very nice, what we're going to do this morning, but the Baptists know what they're doing. They really give you a good sound dunking. Should we go down to the Hudson, AJ? It's not that cold yet. But it's a symbol of something and a reality as well. The symbol is we are drowning. And God brings us up. You know, the old expression, born again. That's what the symbol is. And yes, at some point or another, we experience it as a very, very big reality because we do feel that way. Well, for instance, take a listen to Sharon MacArthur, who is writing in the little Episcopal devotional pamphlet. Every church has one, you know, for day by day. And take a look at what drowning looks like for him. I still remember the night we learned our grandson had cancer. The phone call woke us sometime after midnight. Our son was in tears, still at the hospital, barely able to speak the words, much less absorb their impact. Fear and trembling overcame all of us in the weeks that followed and over the 9 months Of intensive treatment and countless days and nights in the hospital, I certainly wished at times I could fly away and hide. But sometimes we don't have that option. Sometimes we just have to get through it. The horror and the difficulty arrive. These things just come. Thank God we don't know they're coming. I'm so glad I never knew I was going to have that accident. Yeah, I don't want to know. You know, better it just happen, and we were drowning. You know, but we're thrashing around. Thanks be to God, we did all survive. Our important lesson is that God is not found in trying to get away. Instead, the Holy Spirit stands with us in the midst of the horrors and the pain and the uncertainty, giving us the grace to persevere. Oh my, this is a good time to take these words seriously, it seems to me. We're struggling a lot. I don't know about you, we even have a scary election coming up. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know what to be scared of, and other people have other things to be scared of. It's just scary. That's all. But there we are. Baptism, the real deal. And that's what we're symbolizing. And we're also affirming that if you come to God in your drowning moments, God will be there. Catherine knew the rest of that psalm, didn't she? I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me out of all my terror. I called in my affliction, and the Lord heard me and saved me from all my troubles. God does save us, and always stands ready to save us. And God doesn't forget us. Never. And God is always present. And we get used to the idea of drawing closer to God through our faith and our religion. I mean, some people say, I don't like organized religion. Well, what do you like? Disorganized religion? Religion is how we do things like that. We reach out to God, so God can better reach out to us. So here we are in a very old faith. Yes. Here's one from, I told you about him, didn't I? Sherman MacArthur again. Have you ever heard of the Sasanian Empire? I haven't. How about the Chola dynasty? I haven't. Know anything about the Empire of Trebizond? Nope. All of these ancient realms were more powerful than Israel ever was, yet they've been mostly forgotten in modern history. Tiny, relatively powerless Israel has managed to remain alive in the hearts and minds of people across the globe, even after the temple is torn down and the land taken over by other nations. Despite diaspora, genocidal decimation, and unthinkable persecution across the ages, God has never abandoned Israel. From enslaved people escaping Egypt to poor Galileans suffering from Roman oppression, the message of God's reign is one of deliverance. God has loved us fiercely. For that we give thanks, worshiping God generation after generation. What does Israel look like today? Well, let's see. I have a picture. Ha! There. That's the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church and his family. That's Israel. What does Israel look like today? I'm looking at you. We are part of this. Very much a part of this. So much a part of this that people will look to people of faith in times like this. And we are there representing what God is doing despite coronavirus, despite the agony of our divisions in our society, despite all the wars and all the problems, God is there. I have found that to be true. I remember one time when I got dumped. Boy, did I get dumped. She just dumped me. It was sort of sad. And I was really sad. And I went to church because I felt I ought to go to somewhere where I could feel better. And I looked up at that cross, you know, and it was one of those Christus Rex crosses, those beautiful crosses, where Jesus is robed in a wonderful robe, and he looked at me, and I swear he came down from the altar. I don't know, maybe you have visions like that and don't. Maybe you don't. And maybe you're not religious poops like me. But this works. It really does. Welcome